messengers as bringers of good tidings and warners, so that mankind will have no argument against Allah after the messengers. And ever is Allah exalted in might and wise.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
What we're talking about now is the haqq or rights that people have. Because haqq also means rights, absolute rights. And that everything that Allah creates has rights. Even a fly has rights. It's strange that we would think about a small insect having any rights, because insects don't have any lobby in Congress. They can't go up and say, well, we want this and we want that, or have a parade of flies that says that we want more cheese, or you can't do that. You know? But as Muslims, we realize that everything Allah created, it does have rights. The first rights are to Allah. He has the absolute right to be worshipped alone without any partners. And there's never, ever any excuse to worship other than Allah. The second right is the right of the Quran to be followed. We have to follow the Quran because it's the speech of Allah. It's Allah's speech. It wasn't made up by human beings. The third right is the right of the prophets. Whatever prophet came to you and explained to you, then you have to follow that prophet. And in this case for us, of course, it's Muhammad, because he's the last and the final messenger to all the human beings and jinn. So he has that absolute right as well to be followed. But after that, who has the most rights is the parents. And we talked about the mother has so much rights, something that people had forgotten about until the Quran came and reminded them of the rights of the women. The mother has so much rights. The father has rights. Parents have so much rights. Then after that, it's mentioned in Islam, even your own body has rights. I never really thought about that before. But your body has rights. And on the day of judgment, your body can actually testify against you. Your own body can say, you know what? Do you know what he made me look at? Do you know what she made me listen to? Do you know what he made me take? Do you know where she made me walk? So the parts of the body are saying this and saying that, and you're thinking to yourself on the day of judgment, hey, body, you're getting all of us in trouble here, you know. But really, it's amazing. Your body has rights, and you have to take care of all of your body. It's nice, too, because when you think about the extension after the body is the people closest to you, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your wife or your husband when you get married, your children, your cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. All of these are people who have rights on you. Now, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us that the body has 360 joints. I don't know exactly what he meant by that, but what he's saying, you have a lot of parts in your body. And he said, and you have to do a good deed every day for every joint. You have to do a good deed every day for every joint. That's minimum 360 good deeds a day, huh? And he was telling us that even smiling in the face of your Muslim brother or sister is
Charity.
Sadaqah, charity, and that's a good deed. So we should all do that. Because if every one of these joints has the right on me to give Sadaqah, oh my gosh, I'd run out of money real quick, wouldn't I? So it's important for me to know how to smile, right? Ismail? We all have to be polite to each other, kind to each other, and it's a part of being a Muslim. It's not optional. Now, some people said, well, what about all the Muslims together? Do they still have rights? And the answer is yes. In fact, look at this. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, compared the Muslims as a whole to one Muslim as a body. He said that the Muslim Ummah, or all the Muslims together, is like one body. That if one part of the body hurts, then the whole of the body suffers. Is that true? Did you ever have a toothache? You had a tooth that hurt? And when it hurt, could you just like in your mind go somewhere else in your body and I'll just be in the knee for a while until it goes away? Or I'll just hang out in the elbow until my headache goes away. No, when you got a headache, you feel it all over your body. It affects you, right? People come up to you and say, well, you want to go for a run? And you say, I got a headache. Well, you don't need your head to run. Just use your feet. You say, you don't understand. I don't feel good. Leave me alone. Yeah? You get a stomach ache. You get an earache. Have you ever had an earache? When the ear really, really hurts, and it's such a small thing. My whole body hurts if I get an earache. So just like the body is going to respond to pain no matter where it is, it means also that whenever there's any pain or suffering amongst any of the Muslims, it affects everybody. So again, showing us this important subject of haqq, or rights. I reflected on that a lot and thought about it, and then I was wondering, well, wait a minute. What does Islam say about the rights of people that are not Muslims? What about, do they have any rights? And they said, yes. I said, yeah, but they're not even Muslim. They said, they have so much rights. I said, why? How come they have rights if they're not a Muslim? They said, listen, Allah created everybody, so everybody has rights. And you cannot scratch the dignity of even one person. And that means, like, make somebody feel bad. You can't make somebody feel bad. You mustn't do that, because this will be against you on the Day of Judgment. I said, what? They said, again, we'll go to the Prophet Muhammad. He's the example. Anas ibn Malik, radiallahu anhu, was his servant for over 10 years. He said, in all the 10 years that I was serving him, he never complained at me for one thing. Can you imagine that? Have you ever complained to somebody about something they did? Can you imagine 10 years and you don't complain at all? It also means that you can't talk down to somebody just because they're in a lower station of life. Because in Islam, we're all in the same station of life. What we mean by that is that we're all equal. Let me give you an example of that. Remember, we talked about the condition of the Muslims at the time of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and how the Qurayshi tribe really wanted the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to stop giving the message. And at the very end, they said, okay, just before it got really bad, they said, one last chance. Remember, they offered to worship, 1 year we'll worship your God, and another year you worship our God, and so on. They said, okay, forget all that. We'll come in. If we'll come into your religion, but you got to make up something for us. Make some changes to the Quran, and then we can do it. Or bring another book. And Allah said in the Quran was that they were asking for this, and there's no way. He said in the Quran, Allah said, you almost gave in to them just to compromise them. But if you had, you'd have been in big trouble, because Allah wouldn't accept that. The other thing they said was, okay, you've got all these poor people and these losers, street people, poor people, not our status. We're the upper echelon. We're the So give us a special place and get those rabble out. Let them go somewhere, get another religion, and let us be in, and we'll see what we can do. And again, Allah is saying that you don't turn out these people who came into this religion looking and seeking for Allah. You don't do that. It's to Allah to guide the people. He chooses who He wills. And it's not the status that you have amongst each other, it's your status with Allah that counts. And what will make you closer to Allah? What's the thing that Allah loves most? And we found a beautiful hadith from Muhammad ﷺ telling us about what Allah loves the most. And he says that Allah said, this means it's hadith Qudsi, sacred hadith, because Allah said it. Although not in the Quran, it's a saying from Allah. Allah said, I declare war, harb, on anybody who acts with hostility toward a friend of mine. And if anybody acts hard against them, it's harb or war. He says that my servant doesn't come closer to me with anything that I like more, except that they do what I ordered them to do. Allah said, I declare war, harb, on anybody who acts with hostility toward a friend of mine. And if anybody acts hard against them, it's harb or war. He says that my servant doesn't come closer to me with anything that I like more, except that they do what I ordered them to do. So if you want Allah to love you, what do you need to do? Do what He asked you to do. What did Allah ask you? Do your salah 5 times a day, on time. Salah is in its time. Fast the month of Ramadan. Give the charity. Do Hajj. But most important of all is give everybody their rights. Give them their rights. Because if you can't give people their rights, you haven't achieved anything. You're just going through the motion. Example, again, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us about this. Now we found a similar story also in the ancient books from the Christians and Jews about people who were bad or good to animals. And listen to this one. Prophet Muhammad told us that there was a lady, she used to do bad stuff, really bad stuff. But one day she went down in the well to get water. You have to climb down in the well. It's not like today where you just turn on the faucet, you know. They had to get in these rocks and climb down, and get some water and drink and then go back out. And when she came out, she saw, oh, there's a dog. And the dog is in bad shape. He's dying. He needs a drink. His tongue is like, and he's trying to lick like where the water hits the dirt. He's trying to lick it, like, I need water. And in her heart, she felt compassion for this poor animal. And she wanted to give him his rights. So she went back down into the well and using a leather shoe or a sock, and she brought water out and gave it to this animal. And because of her taking care of this poor animal in his poor condition, Allah forgave her of everything. Because why? The sincerity in her heart, and this is what Allah loves. When you're sincere and you do something for His sake, even if it's a small act of kindness. Then He gave the example also of another woman. Now this woman, she prays and she's fasting and everybody can see her. Oh, she's a nice lady. Hey, I'm a nice lady. Look over here, like this. Okay, you get the idea. But she had a cat that she kept tied up, and she wouldn't let the cat go to eat. She wouldn't let it catch any bugs, insects, nothing. She let it starve to death, and she didn't care. Now, all of her praying and all of her fasting and whatever else she was doing became worthless because she had no compassion even for this poor cat. It means she didn't really care, did she? The rights that every human has is their right to think, their right to choose. And you can't force anybody to be a Muslim. But it's also their right to know the truth. And that's the essence of this type of program, to let people know the truth about these prophets and what they said. After somebody watches one of our programs, they might say, oh, I like that. This is good for me. Or they might not. It's up to them. But we did our job. It's our responsibility to tell the people the truth. And then what they do with it, then that's their responsibility. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now let's talk about this. This is another subject about how you take care of your rights. Your body has rights, yeah? Other people have rights, yeah? And one of the things is for you to keep cool, keep really cool about everything. Don't panic, don't get upset, don't get angry. Remember what we talked about when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said this? Somebody said, advise me. Give me good advice. He said, La taghdab. Don't get angry. He said, okay, give me more advice. And he said, La taghdab. And more, La taghdab. And he kept saying it and saying it and saying it. Don't get angry. Don't get angry. Don't get angry. You can see what happens, if you get angry, you lose everything. Just be calm. Do you remember when we talked about what happened when Abu Bakr was sitting there quietly and somebody came up and started insulting him, insulting his family, saying against him, saying against everything he believed? That it's just like, okay. But then when the man said something against Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was sitting there, he got upset and he jumped up, and as soon as he jumped up, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam walked away. So he went after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he said, why did you walk away? He said, because as long as you were being patient, you didn't get angry. As long as you were patient, there was an angel who was saying that Abu Bakr is on the haq. Abu Bakr is on the haq. That's why we're talking about this haq, see? He's on the truth, and he's on the rights. It's his right, he's okay. And as soon as you jumped up and got angry, the angels left the circle that we were in. And I don't sit in gatherings without angels. Now, we know how important it is to tell the truth always. A Muslim cannot lie. Allah said in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu wattaqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. O you who believe, fear Allah and always say the truth. And the Prophet ﷺ told us this too. Because somebody asked him, could somebody be like a coward in a battle and run away and still be a Muslim? If somebody is fighting, they're having a war is going on, and somebody said, I'm scared and ran away, could he still be considered as a believer? Prophet Muhammad said, yes, he could be. Could be. And he said, well, what about somebody that's real stingy? He wants to keep his money. He doesn't want to give his money away to poor people and stuff. Could he still be a believer? He said, well, he could be, yeah. They said, well, what about somebody that's a liar? He said, no. Kadhib, liar. No. This is not acceptable to Allah. It's not acceptable in Islam to be a liar. If something is not true, you mustn't say it. Now, right away, you might say, no, wait a minute, you've been telling us about the prophets. I remember you said that Ibrahim, alayhi salam, told a lie. When they asked him about his wife, Sarah, is this your wife? He said, this is my sister. Remember that? And his thinking is like, well, she's my sister in Islam, in the deen, in the, following of the religion. She's my sister that way. But it was also his wife. And he knew what they really meant, didn't he? So how could he tell this? And he's a prophet. And it happened with some of the other prophets, some of the difficulties that they had. And they said things that you said, well, wait a minute, isn't that a lie? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us that you can never lie except three. And that's to keep the good relations between the husband and wife, between two friends that have separated, and in war. The first case, in the case of a husband and wife, suppose my wife, she made a nice meal for me. I really am hungry. I come home from work. She said, surprise, surprise, surprise. I made potluck goulash for you tonight. I said, what? Potluck goulash. What is potluck goulash? Well, I took everything out of the refrigerator that we had left over, and I took some frozen peas and corn and put it in there, stirred in some good India spices, and then here you are. What do you think? I worked on it all day. Said, you like it, don't you? Now, if I say, no, I don't like it, it's going to hurt her feelings, yeah? And I could say, this is the worst garbage I ever ate. I could say that, and it would be true, because maybe I believe this is the worst thing I ever ate, and I hope I never see it again. I could say that, but then she'll be hurt, won't she? And she'd be like, you don't like anything I cook. I work real hard, and you don't even care. You just come in and just say to them, right? This is what they will do. Pay attention, guys. You're this close. So what should you do? You go, wow, I never had that before. Now you'd stop. Don't say the rest of it. And I hope I never have it again. Just say, I never had that before. She said, what do you think about it? It's amazing. Don't say the rest of it. It's amazing how anybody can take food and make it taste so bad. Just stop. Don't, you know what I'm saying? She said, well, are you impressed? I have to say, I never thought I would come home to something like this. Yep. Do you want it again? Oh, something like this is something you should have on a very rare occasion. As rare as possible. So you want to be careful and don't hurt her feelings. Or if she came home and she said, what do you think about my new dress or my new hat? How do I look? And you're looking and you're going, that's really ugly. If you say that, she's going to go crazy on you. Oh, you don't like it, don't you? I tried to save you money, but you don't even care. I went on, you're going to have a problem. So take it easy. Take it easy. What do you think about it? Wow, I never saw a dress like that before. Do you like it? I have to be honest with you and say it's not like that comes in my mind. is something even more, you know. I don't have a word for it. I don't have a word for that. You can do that because you don't want to hurt her feelings. Yeah? What about the two people who are fighting? They're friends, but they get into a fight, like my two friends, and they were saying, you know, you are looks like a lady going to have a baby, and the other one, he said, you look like a drunk in the street, and, you know, they are saying something against each other. So what could I do? I could say, okay, to one, I could say to him, come on over, Max. I want you to sit in our house. I'm going to have some tea today. And he said, oh, okay. And then I call up my other friend, Tim. I say, come on over, Tim. I want you to come over today, and we're going to sit together and, you know, enjoy our company. And he says, all right. And when they both come, they would say, oh, you're here? What are you doing here? Oh, come on, guys, sit down. We're having tea. Yeah, okay. And they're sitting there, you know, talking, and they start relax, feel a little better, and, you know, let it kind of smooth over. Let them feel better. Maybe even you could tell one, you know, I was talking to Max the other day, and he was saying he felt real bad. Felt bad that he said what he said about you, and he didn't mean it. He said it was shaitan, and, you know. And then when you're talking to Max, you say, you know, Tim said some off-the-wall thing, but you didn't know he had a bad headache. He didn't mean it, you know, and he wishes you guys would make up. Well, it wasn't exactly true what you said, but it was, the meaning is true. They did want to make up, yeah, so they can get back together. And when they see each other, they'll say, he's trying to make up, but he don't know how, so I'll be the first one. You know what? I'm sorry what I said. No, I'm sorry. No, let's make up. And this is good in this case. Well, those are two. And then third, in a war, obviously if it's a war and people are killing Muslims and everything, and they come to you and they say, tell us where the Muslims went. And you say, the Muslims went that way. But really they went that way. But you could say, well, I was pointing like this. You see my three fingers were pointing this way. I was saying they went that way. You didn't pay attention. But lying is something that's very dangerous because it's one of the first things that leads to the biggest problems of the world. As we learned in our examples of the prophets, the first thing is pride, arrogance. You think, you're better. Remember, Shaitan did that. Then the second thing that happens after that, what happens next? After arrogance is when somebody starts becoming hasid and saying, oh, I'm better than you. You're not as good as me. And then after that comes the lying. Because the lying, the first lie you have to tell is yourself. You have to say it's okay to lie. And after that, anything goes. It can be murder, lying, cheating, stealing, all of the things that are bad in Islam, that are bad in the world, start with this kind of attitude. So beware of the lies and always give people their rights. Okay? Haq la ilaha
illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah.
Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.